Hello and welcome. Welcome back if that's the case. Thank you everyone again for stopping by. Thanks Random Vax for the comment and for all of the other people that interacted previously, and watched that liked. Appreciate you all. Regarding what you said, as I mentioned in the comment, I don't know if you got the reply. Some people say it doesn't help the algorithm if the video is too short. That's kind of why I try making it longer, or at least fit a certain time lapse, let's say, a certain length. Today I want to talk about Yuusha to Yobareta Nochi. In short, by the way, it's longer, but I'm gonna stop here because it's usually where people are stopping, which is being translated by the fansubs as "the man called a hero starts a family," which, as far as I know, it's more like a boy. Later on, the title they actually use the word for boy, as far as my Japanese knowledge goes. But anyway, the author is Sorano Kazuki, which is also responsible for Mao Tsukai no Saikyo Shihai, or the Demon King Tamer's Strongest Domination, which is also something that I'm reading, but I think it's kind of on hiatus or something like that, I guess. The artist is Musuaki. It's currently sitting on chapter 40, and it averages 18 to 19 pages per chapter. Reminding you that this is an average. Some chapters have more pages, some have less. So this is kind of like an average number of pages per chapter. Through my research, it's being published by in Bookwalker, the novel, I think. Thank God, and the manga in Comic Book Walker. So I think I'm not gonna have any problems with copyright strikes. I hope. And I've been following this manga pretty much since its beginning, and it's gaining a lot of traction. If I'm not mistaken, it's already available, translated in North America. I think you can buy it on Amazon. Pretty sure I've saw some ads for it when I was doing my research. I only recommend what I follow again, and consider worth following. Reading, investing your time. So yeah, the plot is very simple. Lloyd is a warrior with a hero title. He underwent experimental procedures to attain his current power. Imagine a Captain America, Blanca, Dr. Manhattan kind of plot. A person that undergoes weird experiments to obtain forbidden power and try shifting the balance of power on their favor. And he proves to be a success. He's insanely powerful with absurd abilities like enhanced strength, the power to devour mana, skills, among other things. Eventually, he defeats the Demon King, the Mao. Very first chapter, of very first pages, as I'm gonna show. Because it seems like in Japan, it's like a stock anime you can get on any shelf. It feels like everyone is always the Mao or whatever. But anyway, after defeating him, the Mao called Duke, he goes back to the kingdom, and the king grants him a piece of land and a new mission. The king wants him to exterminate a dragon emperor living within the mine. The king obviously doesn't know it's a dragon emperor, nor that it's actually a dragoness, the dragon empress. So it's actually a kind of suicide mission, or at least the king is hoping for. He wishes that Lloyd and the dragon will eventually end each other, because he's afraid of Lloyd. He's afraid that he's too powerful. And no one should wield that power. Kind of. We'll get into this later, or maybe if you read it, which I recommend. Again, that's why I'm doing all this. You will start understanding, even if it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, he wasn't counting that Lloyd is actually stronger than the Dragon Empress, nor that it's actually a woman. and she basically proposes to Lloyd. So not only Lloyd finds himself a wife, she's a dragon empress on top of that, and he basically defeated the dragon threat, on that area, which is supposed to be extremely powerful, and she is. This is all in chapter one, by the way. So, yeah, Anyway, instead of killing each other, Evelise goes to Evelise. I guess it would be more, would be correct. She goes, oh, we should marry each other. We should start our own thing. That's kind of the plot so far. It starts with that premise. They will obviously meet more people later on, as the pages show, but I don't want to give too much information about it now. I will mention a couple of them later, and also because their story and their backstory is actually really good. One of the few complaints, like very few and scarce, I have about this is the whole king situation. It just doesn't make any sense. Any nation would try and boast, their military prowess, army, etc. Like, again, as I mentioned, Watchmen, with Dr. Manhattan. You have The Boys, which is kind of one of the big hits nowadays, and Homelander is like the icon for USA and all that stuff. So Superman being the all-American boy and stuff. The all-American boy, actually, another air quotes, I think, hero. If my mind's not playing tricks on me, but yeah, all of those things, So it's kind of weird in a way, I guess, especially because Lloyd is extremely easy to manipulate. Was because after he agrees to Evelise's request, his perception of the world starts changing, which is kind of a cool thing, about the whole plot. And it feels like everyone else is actually adding more to Lloyd's self-consciousness, as I mentioned. His recognition of his place in the world, than actually trying to end him or seeing him as a threat. Which is funny, because it's hindering the king's, ultimate goal. But it's also kind of heartwarming, because obviously, if you're reading it, you're cheering, you're rooting for the protagonists, I guess. But yeah, at this point I'm just digressing, but I guess eventually there will be a major clash between the king and Lloyd's on land, by the way things are progressing, but that's just me calling it. Nothing like this has been shown yet, I believe. For the characters, Lloyd is the male lead. He's they refer to him as a warrior, and obviously he has a hero title, as mentioned, and is insanely strong. He agreed to suffer through the experimental procedures and all that due to some trauma he had as a child, and as he sees himself as a disposable tool. You can see some flashbacks that are getting more into depth as of the latest chapters. But again, I'm not going to get too much into it. Just read the manga if you wish. It could be said that he's a dense character, but it's more like he behaves like a machine. He behaves like a Terminator, the Schwarzenegger in the movies. He accepts any tasks without questioning and focuses completely on finishing them. It's both strength and a weakness that he wields. But eventually he starts changing once he denies, ending Evilise. He says that he already killed, he already took too many lives, and he doesn't want to stain his hands with blood anymore. Which I think it's a very deep, and kind of sad passage in the manga. Iblis, or Evilise, as it's being translated now, which I think it's the correct one, is the Dragon Empress. She has a tragic past due to trusting humans. She witnessed her dragon folk being murdered by humans, because they wanted to gather materials. Because in all of, in many RPGs and fantasy settings, dragons are usually worth a lot of money, their parts. So yeah, that's kind of part of her story. Again, this is not the very first few chapters. It's not chapter 1, but I think it's like chapter 2 or 3. So it's not like I'm spoiling a lot here. However, she sees something different in Lloyd when he refuses to kill her and the way he behaves. And she so makes this kind of completely out of nowhere proposal. Needless to say, she's insanely powerful too. She's a dragon empress, so she needs an entire battalion to take her down. Like, kind of in the manga, with a couple of exceptions, Lloyd being one of them, obviously. And she has the characteristics, my bad, of a dragon and also a human. She's able to manipulate her parts freely. She has magic, and you know, clearly she's a very pretty character. She's a very hot woman. Like, she's a very beautiful woman. The daughters, it's kind of clear who they are by the very first chapters, but one of them, it's completely, obvious who she is. But the other one, I'm gonna leave it because she appears later on the story, and she's a very nice character too. There are 2 daughters so far. I don't think there are any plans for any other characters, I guess, so far as through what I've read. But again, I'm not getting too much into it because I want to avoid giving away too much information on their background or how they will eventually end up accepting Lloyd and Evelise as their parents. The younger daughter is Sophia, which is a very powerful mage, and that's as far as I'm gonna get about her. And the other is Alice, which is the daughter of a certain someone, which is very clear in the first chapters who is that certain someone. But I'm not gonna explicitly mention it. Come to your own conclusions or read it. In conclusion, this work has been a very fun experience so far. It has a very nice pace. It's kind of a slice of life. It has a slice of life kind of vibe with shonen and romantic comedy elements. Splashes of these elements. And this is one of the few titles nowadays that I actually look forward every week. Like, every week I'm actually updating, refreshing my page or seeing if there's a new one, and which I will highly consider getting the official translation in my language, or even the physical volumes once they start popping out, which I do believe they will. I highly recommend it. In my opinion, it's very likely that it will be adapted into anime because it's getting a lot of traction and it's pretty good quality so far. And that's kind of it for this one. Again, thank you all for the support and feedback, and I'll probably see you all on Friday when I release another one. I'm gonna recommend another air quotes risque title, which is aimed towards more mature audiences, because it's a little something that I'm thinking about. So yeah, see y'all.